Yo, this is the Fight Block. UFC 132 is live this Saturday from Las Vegas, and the main event, Cruz defends his bantamweight title against Faber. All around, this is a stacked card. Every fight will either be aired on Facebook, Spike TV, or the pay-per-view, so it can be a full day of fights if you choose to watch all of them. Like I said, it's a stacked card. Two solid matchups on the Facebook card that I'm looking forward to are Anthony Njokuani and Andre Winter. The fight's going to be fireworks. It's going to be stand-up brawl. Brian Bull's taking on Takeo Matsugaki, another great bantamweight matchup with possible title implications. Both matchups are really great. George Soteropoulos takes on Rafael Dos Anjos, and then also in the main event of that Spike TV broadcast will be Melvin Guillard against Shane Roller. All around, just solid matchup of fights. I'm going to give you my main card predictions, so let's just get started. The first fight is a lightweight matchup between Dennis Siver and Matt Wiman. Both fighters are on a 3-fight win streak. Dennis Siver, he's coming off that impressive victory over George Soteropoulos. He was able to stuff all of Soteropoulos' takedown attempts and then just dominated Soteropoulos on his feet. Dennis Siver, he's a strong, compact fighter. He mixes up his striking well. He's known for his vicious spinning back kicks. He'll definitely throw a few in this fight. He's actually finished 2 of his opponents by way of spinning back kick. And he's no slouch on the ground. He's got solid grappling, and he can submit you. Matt Wiman, I mentioned he's on a 3-fight win streak. However, his submission victory over Mac Danzig was fairly controversial. He had Danzig in a guillotine choke, and referee stepped in, stopped the fight, thinking Danzig was out cold. Danzig immediately popped up, started arguing that he was fine. So that victory is fairly controversial. Matt Wiman, former Ultimate Fighter contestant, has improved vastly from the show. However, he's still pretty inconsistent in my eyes. Sometimes he'll come out and he'll just look extremely impressive, and other times he just won't look all that great. So it's difficult to tell which Wyman's actually going to show up for this fight. I think Seaver's just going to be the stronger, more technical fighter. If this goes to the ground, I think Seaver can submit Wiman. My pick in this fight, I'm taking Dennis Siver by TKO in the second round. I think overall he's just a better fighter than Wiman. I think his stand-up style and his strength will give Wiman troubles. And I wouldn't be surprised if Siver lands one of those spinning back kicks and finishes this fight in spectacular fashion. So I'm taking Dennis Siver by TKO in the second round. The next fight is a matchup between top welterweight contenders Carlos Condit and Dong Young Kim, especially with Rick Story recently losing. The winner of this fight will definitely catapult himself in top title contention. Carlos Condit, he's won 11 of his last 12 fights. Former WEC welterweight champion, was the champion when the division folded. Lost his UFC debut to Martin Kampmann in a tough decision, but went on to win his last 3 fights, all over top welterweight contenders. Jake Ellenberger knocked out Dan Hardy in his last fight, and then also had a impressive victory over Rory McDonald, who we just saw destroy Nate Diaz. So McDonald was no joke. So Carlos Condit, he's coming off 3 very good wins. Dong Young Kim is undefeated, although he technically has a loss to Kyle Parisian. That fight got changed to a no contest after Kyle Parisian failed the drug test after the fight. But Dong Young Kim, he's no joke. He's one of the best grapplers in the division. And actually, after his fight with Nate Diaz, he called out George St. Pierre, saying that he'd be able to out-wrestle and out-grapple GSP. But if Dong Young Kim has a weakness, he definitely tends to gas during the later rounds. This is a tough matchup to call. Really, I can see this fight going 2 ways. Either Dong Young Kim takes Condit down, avoids Condit's submissions, and just grinds out a decision, or Condit catches Kim on the feet, or when the fight goes to the ground, works his way to a submission. I really like Carlos Condit. I think he's got a lot of heart, and he just finds ways to win fights. My pick in this fight, I'm taking Carlos Condit by way of submission in the 3rd round. I think Kim might out-grapple and hold Condit down on the ground, but once this fight reaches the 3rd round, I really think Condit's conditioning will play a big part, and he'll be able to take advantage of a tiring Kim. He'll slap on a submission and end this fight in the 3rd round. The next fight, young up-and-coming Ryan Bader takes on the veteran Tito Ortiz. Let me just say I respect what Tito has done for this sport, but I'm just not a fan. I don't like his style. I don't like his cockiness. Overall, I just not a fan. And I don't like his commentating. He's extremely bad at commentating. Check out his Affliction stuff. Horrible. Anyways, Tito hasn't won a fight since his TKO loss to Chuck Liddell in 2006. He's had back surgery and just really hasn't been all that healthy. Although he claims the last couple fights he's claimed he's gone in 100%, and then post-fight in the interview he comes up with some, I've been going through neck problems and I just wasn't 100% and blah, blah. He just makes up excuses. Every time after a fight he's injured, even though before the fight he says he's perfectly fine. All right, going off on a Tito rant, but really, like I said, not a huge fan. And I think this quite possibly could be Tito's last fight in the UFC. Both fighters are known for their wrestling, but I think Bader has a wrestling advantage over Tito. And on the striking, I just think Ryan Bader will be the more aggressive, more powerful striker. And I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes Tito. So my pick, I'm taking Ryan Bader by TKO. In the third round, I mean, Tito, he tends to gas or just completely give up fighting once the fight hits the third round. One example, his last fight a couple fights ago with Forrest Griffin. I don't know if he thought he had the fight won or what, but in the third round, he threw maybe one punch and just didn't do anything. So I don't know. I just don't get Tito. Not a fan of his style, and I think this will be his last fight in the UFC. Ryan Bader, TKO in the third round. In the co-main event, and the fight that I think I'm most looking forward to, Wanderlei Silva makes his UFC return, taking on Chris Lieben. Wanderlei, he's been asking for this fight for a while. Dana wanted to do a matchup between Silva and Belfort, a rematch. That fight would have been awesome, but I'm not complaining with a Lieben-Silva matchup either. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. It's just going to be a stand-up brawl. Both guys have the wild punching style. I'm a huge fan of Wanderlei. He's one of my favorites. He's coming off of an injury, long layoff. Lieben, he's coming off of that TKO loss to Brian Stann. Before then, Lieben was looking really good. He was on a roll. This is really a tough fight to call. I mean, I'm leaning towards Lieben. The only reason is Wanderlei really hasn't finished anyone for a while. His last finish was his KO victory over Jardine, but everybody knocks out Jardine. Wanderlei looked impressive in his last fight against Bisping, but he has lost 5 of his last 7 fights. It's just a matchup between who has the better chin, who's going to drop, and if you're going by that, I think Lieben holds the advantage. Even though he did get rocked against Stan, I don't think Lieben's chin is done or anything like that. Lieben's still a tough dude, and this fight's going to be a brawl. I really hate picking against Silva, but I'm taking Chris Lieben in this fight. I think he'll catch Wanderlei and finish this fight by TKO in the second round. In the main event of the evening, the Dominator, Dominick Cruz, defends his bantamweight title against the California Kid, Uriah Faber. This is a bad blood matchup. Both fighters both have voiced that they don't like each other. Dominick Cruz, he's only got one loss in his career, and that's to Uriah Faber. He's looking to avenge that loss. In their previous fight, I believe Uriah Faber caught Dominick Cruz, dropped him, and then jumped on Cruz and slapped in a deep guillotine choke and forced Cruz to tap. Since then, Cruz has improved immensely, both with his wrestling and his striking. Cruz, he's fast, and he's shown that he can go the distance, so he's got incredible cardio. He just bounces around nonstop, weaving his head, bobbing, just has really solid footwork, and in general, just his striking is very difficult to time, and overall, just I think very much improved from their previous fight. With that said, you can't count out Uriah Faber. He's fought the best of the best, both in the featherweight division. He's 2-0 since dropping down to the bantamweight division. His last fight, he defeated Eddie Wineland by decision. It was a tough fight. He struggled at first to take Wineland down, but eventually got the fight to the ground where he was able to control Wineland and work his way to a decision. This is a tough fight to call, but I really think Dominic Cruz is going to come into this fight motivated to avenge his loss. He's completely changed up his game in terms of his striking and just his style. I think it's going to be difficult for Faber to time Cruz, and I really think Cruz will be able to match his wrestling with Faber. So I really don't think Faber's going to be able to land a whole lot of takedowns. It's tough for me to see this fight being finished. If it is, it'll be by way of Uriah Faber. Dominic Cruz just isn't known for his power striking or submissions on the ground. Uriah Faber, he definitely has far more TKO submission victories under his belt. He's got enough tools to definitely catch Dominic Cruz on the feet or on the ground. I'm picking this fight. I'm taking Dominic Cruz by way of decision. All he's got to do is win 3 rounds against Faber. I think he'll be able to pull that off with his style and improved overall game. So my pick, Dominic Cruz by unanimous decision. This is the Fight Block. UFC 132 is live this Saturday. Overall, just a stacked card. All the fights will be available. Facebook, Spike TV, pay-per-view. Check them out. Some solid matchups. Leave your comments, your predictions. Thanks for listening again. Follow on Twitter. Check out the blog. I'll post those links in the description box. That's all I got to say for now. Check back. Peace.